Happy 250th, America. America rocks. There's never been a better time to be an American, and yet so many of us aren't feeling it. I'm Mike Allen, co-founder of Axios.
And I'm Jim Vandehei, CEO of Axios. Can't think of a single point in our lifetime where there's been a bigger gap between how I think people should feel and how they do. People have never been more pessimistic. They've never felt less patriotic.
Pride in America at a 25-year low. Only a third of people believing in the American dream. People not believing in democracy and capitalism. I was surprised by this. Even faith in the armed forces is down.
I'm often baffled by it.
Well, don't be baffled. It's very understandable. So look at the lived reality for so many people across the country. Since President Trump took office, ground beef, $1.20 more a pound. It was supposed to be going the other direction, was one of the reasons he won. Yes, gas is down from when the war started, but it's up since Trump took office. So people are hurting. At the same time, there has never been more opportunity. I tell my nieces and nephews, it's never been better to be young in America. It's never been better to be young in the world.
Yep, that disconnect is huge. And I get it. Not everybody feels it, but also the things you're talking about, they are a little bit ephemeral, right? Like beef prices go up, they go down. Gas prices go up, they go down. I guess what I'm thinking about is when you step back, you're going to live longer. You're probably going to make more. You're going to be freer. You're going to be able to move around more than you ever thought possible. Still, despite all of our flaws, and what I would say is like crappy governance, like stupid governance now, like 20 years running, we still have the world's best economy. We still create the most cool new technologies. We're still the country that everybody turns to when times are tough. And I was thinking about this with the World Cup. So many cool stories about like foreigners coming here and not just coming to New York or DC, like coming to America, right? Coming to the Midwest,
And they love it. They love French dressing.
What do you think you'll take away from your visit here in the United States, back to Germany?
Ranch. I love ranch. I tasted here and it's delicious.
All these stories of just like how hospitable people are, how good we have it, how much they felt like everyone's like inviting them into their home. Like it's a pretty freaking awesome country. A lot of things not great. And that doesn't mean that people aren't suffering. It doesn't mean that gas isn't too expensive. It doesn't mean that it's not too difficult to buy a house. It doesn't mean that healthcare is kind of crappy for a lot of people, particularly if you don't live in a big city and have a lot of money. But I do think that it's hard for us to do that as people, is to step back and just look at where we are compared to others and look at where we are compared to the course of history. And that's where I'm saying, like, it's never been better. In some ways, we've won the lottery, and yet we feel like we got a dirty diaper.
This isn't just American jingoism. Pull back the camera. Look at human progress. Look at the history of humanity. Extreme poverty, down. Deaths of children under 5, down. Adult literacy, up. Life expectancy, up. Immunizations, up.
Less warfare, more stability. Like that, it's so hard for us to realize this. And I think it's easy to watch us to be like, oh, whatever, you guys run a media company, you have a lot of money, or you live in a different world. And that is true, but that's not actually what either of us came from. But that's where you have to like understand, like, where do we sit at this moment? Where do we sit compared to our peers? Like other countries are deeply, deeply envious of our economy. They're deeply envious.
Everyone wants to come here.
They want to come here, but in not, again, like we're not just here like, oh, look at America, it's great. Like America has many, many flaws. We screw things up all the time. We've done some atrocious things through history, but we've also gotten a lot of things right. And we've done beautiful things through history. Like the whole like arc of history, I do think over time does bend towards betterment for more and more people. And that getting there is awful often, and getting there is ugly. And I think one of the reasons is because when you have, think about this morning, when you have two political parties, it doesn't really matter what the other party says. Like you have to say that's idiotic. You have to say that that's an existential threat to our existence.
Well,
you have to say
and sometimes that's true.
Sometimes it is true, but often it's not. Often it's an exaggeration. So we end up in these perpetual cycles of talking about how awful things are. And I think if we're being honest, the media is at fault, right? You look at, I was thinking about it yesterday reading the New York Times. Like every story is just depressing. It's about corruption and poverty and death and stupid decisions. And like all those things happen. And I'm not saying we shouldn't cover those and we shouldn't talk about them. But at the same time, it's like beautiful things happen every single day. We just don't talk about them.
Thanks for watching this special 4th of July Behind the Curtain. And now a message from Accenture and CEO Julie Sweet.
I'm very excited about our reinvention story today, which is literally 160 years in the making.
The reinvention was trying to bring a company into the trends of the future.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal had a column the other day, Can Patriotism Survive Cynicism? The cynicism is understandable, and it's because of a short time frame that, yes, it is true that in our adult lifetime, it's become harder to buy a home. For a lot of early career people, like our young people, it can be harder to get a job. The jobs are going to be very different. And yet, zoom out, look at the reality. America's leading in AI. We have the world's strongest military. We have the most energy production ever. Cancer mortality down 34 points in 30 years.
Take AI, which is obviously controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. But
there's legit worries about it.
Legit worries, but it could have been done so differently. Like, one, we should be celebrating the fact that this technology was created here. There's something about this country, there's something about capitalism, free markets that stirs up this innovation where we're building out the internet, where we're building out phones, where we're building out new technologies like AI. And there is something about the way that we even set up our governance that allows these companies to go build and to grow. And yes, they're somewhat regulated, maybe too regulated, maybe not regulated enough, but something about that works.
Yeah, this cocktail of democracy, capitalism, individual liberty, know-how. What does that produce? America, 4% of people, 26% of the world's output, the gross domestic product.
I do think that you're in this early age of what is going to be an insane amount of individual entrepreneurialism. I think about it with my brother who runs a small construction company. It's usually him and one other person at most. And one of the hard things of doing that is just the operation, the putting out bids, doing all of the accounting. AI is going to do all of that for you. There's going to be a construction company in a box. And so if you just then have the work ethic, I'm sorry, whether it's here, whether it's Maine, whether it's Wisconsin, anywhere I go, there's just more opportunity and more freedom, I think, that people fully appreciate it. And again, I'm not downplaying that they're not looking at their screen or hearing from politicians and hearing things suck, things suck, things suck. They don't. And people don't suck. And that's the other thing, this idea that we're so divided, we hate each other. Go back to the World Cup. It's just bullshit. I don't think it's true. I think people in politics who do it professionally might hate each other. I think people who are perpetually online and get all of their self-value out of getting people to like them or follow them or respond to them online might hate each other. That's a small minority of the people. Most people are normal. Most people are good. Most people would probably join your crusade if you're trying to change something locally. Most people will want to hire you to do work. And if you work your ass off, they'll pay you and you'll do well.
Most people are not on X. Most people are not on cable news. Imagine how much we collectively in DC over-index on those. Most people in America are concerned about youth sports. And some of the most response we've ever gotten to a column was our column simply pointing out a true fact. 80% of Americans agree on 80% of things 80% of the time.
And you just wouldn't know it, right? If you're looking at a screen of any size,
yeah,
you wouldn't know it. Like if you just took your head out of the damn machine for a week and just walked around a community, you're just going to see a much different place. You're going to meet a much different type of person. I don't care if you're in the West, the South, the North, any part of the country. I think that this holds true. The only place it doesn't hold true is in the professional arena of politics, because the parties are kind of paid to hate each other and to amplify things and get you all riled up about stuff and create a distorted view of where we're at. So the rebuilding, when I tell others things, I tell young people, yeah, sure, yes, I wish people liked the military better. I wish government functioned better. I wish that business behaved better. I wish that academia was able to teach better. But then demand that, fix it, help fix it. That's how all this stuff gets fixed. Over time, people rise up, they say, that thing sucks, I'm going to fix it. They fix it. And that's the amazing thing about why we're so much bigger and better today as a country than we were 250 years ago. And that's not a disputable fact.
Zoom in. The other weekend, you and I went to a college soccer game here in DC. Before they kicked off, they say kick off in soccer.
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah. right before kickoff, they played the national anthem, and what happened? An adjoining field baseball game, they stopped the game to salute the flag.
Yeah, I don't. So again, like I don't, and not to be like sappy about patriotism. Like my rant on this. Like I remember doing a speech recently to a group of farmers, and they started it with the Pledge of Allegiance. They had young kids come in with a series of the state flag, the county flag, maybe the U.S. flag, and they did the Pledge of Allegiance. And I thought, oh my God, back when I went to Sacred Heart K through 8. Like you started every single day doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and you could say, "Well, that's cheesy," or "That's just
ditto at Garden Hall." Yeah,
but that you need those small unifying things to remind us that we're ultimately in it together. Ultimately, people do the right thing, maybe after doing the wrong thing as long as they possibly could, but we ultimately do the right thing. And I do think like that's what I would again say to young people, especially those, I saw that poll where it used to be, I think at the peak after 9/11, 91% of people felt patriotic. I think it's down to like 58%. I'm like, how the hell did we let that happen? And we let it happen because I think institutions got weak. A lot of them got rotten. A lot of them did stupid, shitty things. A lot of them didn't take accountability. So then it's on all of us to rebuild those institutions. And if you don't rebuild those institutions, if you don't have that thing that unites us, that bonds us, whether it's a team or whether it's a project locally or whether it's the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or whether it's church or just that broader halo of patriotism, things that unify us, then you end up with just like a country of 330 million people running in their own things, worrying about their own selves. And then maybe the country does become what people think it is, which is not anywhere near where many think it is.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember the bicentennial, 1976, and there was so much more excitement, hoopla. I remember my mom taking us 4 kids to the Freedom Train, came to Long Beach, California. Everybody was looking for bicentennial quarters, like all the souvenirs. I was the perfect age. I loved that stuff. We don't have that feeling this time.
We don't. And actually, the last time we had that feeling was after 9/11. That really is that is in some ways the last communal moment that we had where there was a shared patriotism. I think George W. Bush's favorable ratings were in the high 80s. Like people were unified. They were terrified. And it didn't last very long. But since then, we've not had a single moment of solidarity. And then, in fact, I think probably from that day forward, we've had nothing but division. We've had erosion of trust in almost every institution. And again, if some person, we should have lost that trust. I'm with you on a lot of that. And I think it's our job to repair it. But that's a beautiful thing. You can instantaneously repair things here. And I always think about this with Trump. For people who are like, some people like him that are watching this, some people hate him. But one of the things he did is he proved that almost overnight that somebody who has the right message, captures the right spirit of the American people, can recreate an entire political party, and it could reshuffle the entire argument that this country is having. Imagine if someone did that for a force of good.
Jim, here's to our next 250th. See you in 2276.